And welcome to the latest episode of Here's What We Know, the podcast of unexpected conversations. Before I get started, I always like to thank my sponsors and encourage you to explore their businesses. Without them, we just can't do this. So I told my wife, like I always do, who I was going to be talking to today. And I did not find her laughter rude, but understandable. You're talking to a design coach. And I said, yes, I am. She founded the Little Yellow Couch, a design coaching platform, has a website, slowstylehome.com, and has a very popular podcast called Style Matters. It's Zandra Zuraw. Hi, Zandra.
You pronounced that spot on. Do you have Polish or German in your background?
No, I've just been in radio for so long that I've mispronounced every word, every way possible. Every name, every way possible.
Well, you did that great. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's because I've made so many mistakes. I'm like, hold on, how do I think it sounds? How do I think it's going to be pronounced? And then I go, and it's not that. That's what I was telling myself.
The opposite.
And I am today years old before I ever met anyone named Zandra with a Z.
Oh, good. There are a few of us out there I have found along the way, but not many. It's a small club.
Really? Was your parents just that whole alliteration thing? Did they go, well, Zuraw, let's go Zandra?
Zuraw
whatever
is
will
my
be, will
married
be.
name. Can you believe it? I found a guy with a Z last name.
And that was the deal clincher, huh?
Well, that was the criteria.
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
So you dated A
I
through
was dating
Y.
a Zeisler before him. So
shut up.
I'm not even kidding.
What is it about the Z guys? I know a Z guy, Zeidler. I know a Z guy. I know him and his sons. And by the way, all of them very good looking.
Hey, okay. Well, then they have that in common. Yeah.
Maybe that's the way the good Lord arranged it, that if they're going to give you a Z name, they're going to give you a lot of other benefits.
Oh, yeah, because you're last. You're last for everything.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's it. If people wait, it's let's make a deal. Don't ever pick door number one. Don't ever pick door number one.
Never.
Well, I'm having you on my podcast, and I say this because I'm having you on my podcast because I would never be invited on yours. All right, now listen. No. Now don't start going, no. I'm never going to be invited on a Hall of Fame baseball podcast. I'm never going to be invited on a How to Run a Marathon Under 4 Hours podcast. There's a whole bunch of podcasts I'm never going to be invited on. And yours is one of them. But
that sounds like a challenge. I'm going to turn you into an avid slow style homer.
Good luck with that.
Okay. All right.
As I said, when I told my wife who I was talking to, she was like, really?
Okay, so maybe I'll turn her into a slow style home advocate. Yeah, okay.
See, that's how this works out. She already is. Just like you waited for the Z's, it took me a long time to meet a woman who just has, my wife is filled with grace and style. She is. And when I met her, I had bought this house and she came up to my first time we were dating, she came to this house and I bought it in 2001. And she looked at me and she goes, your walls are white, your carpet is gray, and you have white furniture with 2 dogs. And I said, let me be clear. I have no panache. None whatsoever. None.
That's a good word. Yeah.
I said, I'm a guy's guy.
We've got work to do. I'm going to roll up my sleeves.
Well, and this was like within the first 2 weeks of dating. And I said, but I tell you what, I built up a lot of equity in this house. So if we were to get married, you can do whatever you want with it.
Ooh, wow. That was appealing.
And she's like, okay. And she did. So my house, I live in a place that I tell my sons this all the time. There's not a day that I don't come in my house because I grew up very poor.
Okay.
There's not a day I go into my house and I don't go, wow, I live here.
Oh, wow. What a compliment to your beautiful wife. I love that.
Well, and she does have a sense of style, and I try to understand it because I do not have a sense of style. And what I've learned from listening to your podcast and studying you and starting to learn about you, I had this epiphany. I think a lot of things, I think women understand the concept that, as you say, the design is an expression of yourselves.
Yes.
Men just want it to look a certain way, but we don't think it reflects us. And
Yes.
again, the men I know, I can't speak for everyone. And I know
Right.
there's always exceptions and there's some guys who are so design oriented, but I'm saying for the majority, I can't think of anybody I know who is any male I know, maybe one who is just like, that looks good.
Yeah. Well, especially I think it's generational too. I mean, I'm going to just come right out with it. I'm 53 years old. So my
Young
generation and
punk
up.
kid, get off my lawn.
Oh, yeah. I was just bragging there. But yeah, my generation and up, I think that there was a bigger gender divide for
Huh?
sure.
We lost that
And,
connection.
my husband talks
All
about all the
right.
time in terms of clothing. He's like, I've got three choices, blue for a shirt, white for a shirt, or checked. That's it. So yeah, I mean, it's fashion too, not just home, that men kind of are a little bit left out in the cold.
Hey, listen, my wife, and I've had this conversation before. My wife, I'll get dressed for something and she'll go, I don't like that shirt. And I will remind her there's nothing I own that she did not pick out and purchase. And her thing is, yeah, well, I liked it then, but I don't
Right,
like it
right.
now. And men, listen, if I could still fit into clothes from 20 years ago, I would
Yeah,
still
you
have the
would.
clothes from 20 years ago.
Of course. Yes. There's nothing wrong with them. They still work, right?
Yeah, that's my, when does it become vintage? That's my question. Because I'm like, I
Oh,
tell you what, there's a vintage store like here, I'm in Northern California. I'm in
yep.
Silicon Valley, and you'll see these vintage dress shops and stuff. And then you look at the price tags and you go, oh,
I know. Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of vintage shops, and some of them have become very upscale for those in the know. If you know, oh my God, that's a 1956 Gucci, I gotta have it. And there's vintage stores like that for design for homes as well. And I'm a frequent shopper. I have my frequent shopping card on the vintage scene for sure.
how did you get there? I mean, was style ingrained to you? And I know it's something that maybe could be learned to some extent, but
Hmm.
I also think there are certain talents that are ingrained, and you either
Yeah.
recognize it or you don't.
Yeah. I do think that there is such a thing as having a natural inclination toward it, and toward uh, having sort of having an intuitive eye. But what I really believe as well is that it can be taught, not necessarily an over the top, breaking new boundaries, breaking new grounds kind of design eye for somebody who wasn't really born with it, because probably if they weren't born with it, they're also not encouraged to use it. And so maybe they don't develop it and da da da. But if you still want a beautiful home, what you can learn is how to make really good choices that lead to a home that's not like anyone else's. And I do find that the people I talk to, we want our homes to reflect us. I don't feel like I need to convince anyone of that. And so therefore, we say we want a one of a kind home, or the way I put it, a signature style. But that's kind of where it ends. And a lot of people don't know how to get it. And that's when, the chasm opens up and you start going down the rabbit holes of Google or Amazon or Wayfair or whatever. And you try to put it all together and it's just ridiculous. And so then you're like, okay, I'm just either going to pick everything that's the cheapest, or I'm going to copy what I see somewhere else because I'm overwhelmed. And that's what I try to kind of dispel.
And how did you get there, though? What
So,
is
so
your
how
journey?
I got there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time. And I've got 2 graduate degrees that I'm not using to prove it, that I really don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I majored
Um,
in English literature and did country radio all my entire life. So
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
get
I
you.
love
I
it.
feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I moved a lot because of this as I was trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. And I lived in all different kinds of homes and different kinds of spaces and apartments. And, every time I moved and was trying to figure out who I was going to be, I created a nest. I created a space that wouldn't just kind of make me feel safe because I was trying out something new, meeting new people, moving to a new city. But I was also trying to create a space where I could be inspired to do whatever that next thing was. And so my home was always really, really important to me. And for most of my life, I rented. So I'm talking about doing things that aren't permanent, right? And I didn't do any renovations or anything, just sort of the embellishment of the home. And fast forward, marriage, kids. I have a kid with special needs, kind of takes over your life for a little while. And I kind of realized home has always been so important to me, but I've also been kind of embarrassed about it. Embarrassed that I love style so much, embarrassed that I love this kind of frivolous, tassel laden, arguments over pillows, like that kind of thing. I wanted to be a person who's taken seriously. And so I was sort of in the closet, so to speak, about my passion for design.
Yeah.
And so I'm skipping a lot here, but let's just say 7 years ago when I started my podcast, Style Matters, it was to answer the question, why does style matter? What is it? Why should we care about this stuff? Because for many, many people, it's so superfluous. It's so first world problem-y. It's so, and I really wanted to answer that question. I could feel it in myself. I wanted to hear from designers and other people in the industry. Why is it so important? What does it do for somebody? And so that was sort of the impetus for that show.
Well, it boils down to, if you're going to ask why style matters, let's ask why art matters.
Yeah. Art is put up on a taller pedestal, understandably, than style, but it's the same reason. It's the same pedestal. Reason.
It's the same pedestal.
It's about beauty. It's about understanding how humans crave beauty in order to feel happy, feel fulfilled, feel motivated, feel ready to take on the day. And I always talk about the cave paintings back in France that were discovered. People have been doing this and spending their time on it forever. Back when you didn't know if you were going to have food, shelter, or clothing. That was not a guarantee.
You were going to be food.
Yeah, exactly. And yet we're taking the time to put some art on the walls, So I know that there's this intrinsic value to it. And I think what we've lost a little bit in our society over the past several hundred years is the understanding that we all can create it. We've sort of separated ourselves, those that are artistic and those that are not, right brain, left brain. And that's another thing I want to let people know is that you have it within you, the ability to create beauty. It's not going to be the Mona Lisa necessarily or the Sistine Chapel, but you have the ability to create beauty in your home. So that's sort of another mantra that I tell people is, let's do this. You can do this.
I find it, the way you described it is funny that I had to come out of the closet with my style design. But really, the culture caught up with you about, 15 years ago? That, it becomes something that we all accepted and started to go, yeah, it does matter. As my wife has pointed out, she goes, I like the room to look a certain way because it makes us feel a certain way.
That's right.
And again, as a man, I shouldn't say as a man, as this man, I had never considered it.
Right. And I do think that it is more present for some people than others. Some people are much more visual and tactile than others. And so it is going to have a bigger impact. But you're right. We have caught up. And COVID certainly also kind of put us over the finish line with that. At COVID, everyone's spending time at home and you can't open up the internet without seeing an article about why your home matters because we're all living in it now, 24/7. And I'm happy about that. But I think because of that, we've sort of gotten on this disposable decor treadmill because now everybody's like, oh, we care about the home. And companies are very happy to provide you with lots of products for you to buy and to stuff into your home and to change every 3 months. So there's a little bit of a downside to the fact that everybody is acknowledging now the importance of our surroundings. It's kind of like, kind of was going hand in hand with an acknowledgement that mental health issues are real, that doesn't have to be something we're ashamed of anymore. That doesn't have to be something we're struggling with, because the more people share about it, the more people go, oh yeah, me too. And so this idea that your environment can impact your mental health as well is kind of like riding the coattails of that, I think, a little bit.
I just find it, I find it fascinating to go through it. And as you go through, when you're trying to put a room together,
Yeah.
right? And like I said, as I've studied up on you, I've just enjoyed it because you do room to room where
Mm.
where it's my wife is about themes, right? That's when she
Yeah.
first
Okay.
got in, because times change. Times
Yep.
change.
Yep.
That's another thing. My wife, she's like, well, we need to update this. We need to update that. And I'm like, wow, where they don't update? Europe, where we go and see all those
Yeah.
beautiful things, and they're there forever, right?
Yeah,
As a matter
they
of fact,
are.
they've even changed laws where you cannot touch the buildings and you can't because it's there. And there's
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
be said for stability.
Right.
Again, it sounds like I'm being cheap, and I am.
No.
No,
Well,
no,
yeah,
I
but no.
am. Well,
That's a benefit. That's a
yeah,
benefit that you don't have to spend more money.
a benefit. Some people would call it a side effect. Whatever, it's just like the side effects on drugs, and this may call leakage. Yeah, sign me up, give me some more of that. But as you go to room, was that something you always thought about? Did you learn? Was it something that in your experience who people got, because like I said, she would do things, but she has changed in the last few years where she starts going, I want to do this with this room. And it's
Yep.
fascinating looking back. As I always tell
Yes.
my
I
wife,
hope she's
hey,
documented. Yeah.
yeah, well, no, I always tell her, hey, you realize the next time I tell you no will be the first time I've told you no.
Oh, yeah. That's so nice.
So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So how
room
did
to room. Yeah. I recommend starting with one room at a time because I'm coaching people who don't have design training, and it's just a lot easier to wrap your head around one room rather than trying to figure out your style for an entire house. I also think that because different rooms have different purposes, your style is going to change. It's going to shift a little bit according to the purpose, according to the time of day that you're using it, according to who's using it. So that's why I start room to room. But in terms of how I learned all of this, I am completely self-taught. And over the past few years, as I was morphing the Style Matters podcast, and by the way, no fault of yours, but we did recently change our name. It's now just the Slow Style Home Podcast to match everything else we're doing. But as I was really honing in on that, I thought, okay, I need to figure out, how did I do this? So I backtracked all of my thought process, and this took me really kind of a couple of years to really nail down. What are the skills that I needed to learn? What did I pay attention to? What did I try out? What were the practices that I had in place so that I could then teach other people how to do it? Because I learned it over 30 years and learned my own style over 30 years, it was a little bit difficult at first to kind of tease out, well, how did I get here? But that has been the project of Slow Style Home for the past several years, so that I now have a framework that's step by step where I can teach people how to create a slow style home. So I hope that answers your question, being
no, it
completely
does.
self-taught. Yeah.
I find it interesting because this is my take on it. And I always tell guests on my podcast, please understand, if I'm wrong, tell me. It does not hurt my feelings. Because if I'm wrong
Yes,
and
I
you
know you can
fix
take
me,
it.
yeah, if you fix it, then I've learned something. And I'm all about
Right.
trying to learn something.
Oh,
Right.
me too. Absolutely.
So, but my take on, as I studied you and what I'm really intrigued by you, is that it seems more about, instead of trying to find the design that pleases the customer, I get the feeling that what you're trying to do is teach them how to recognize their design,
Oh,
their choices.
100%.
And
100%.
and that's an interesting process. I mean, what all does it take? I mean, it seems like there'd be a lot of consultation time because you have
Yeah.
to figure out them before they can figure out them.
Yeah. Well, it does take time, hence the name Slow Style. Lots of reasons why I use that name. One is to dispel any expectation that this is going to be one of those HGTV makeovers where poof, it's done in a week. Not happening. So in trying to teach someone what their style is. What it takes is the ability to think abstractly and to take abstract concepts and make concrete design decisions. So back to what your wife was saying, how do you want the space to feel? This particular room, not the whole house. Let's just talk about one room. And what do you want to experience in it? And by experience, I don't mean necessarily what are you going to do in it? Well, I want to experience the game. I want to watch the game. I mean, believe it, I'm a big football fan, so I get it. I want to watch the game too. But what do I want to feel when I'm in that room? That's what I mean by experience. Do I want to experience connection with my spouse? Do I want to experience connection with my kids? Do I want to experience connection with my friends that I'm having over? Do I want to experience peace and quiet and solace and renewal? Do I want to experience creativity? If I'm in the kitchen, I need inspiration because I have to cook something different every single night. Those are the things that I'm trying to get people to first think about and then go, okay, what design decisions will get you there? Which design decisions do you need to make? So that connecting the dots, that's the hardest part. And it takes a lot of noticing. About what you like. How do you feel when you are lying in silk sheets versus cotton sheets? How do you feel when you are leaning against a velvet pillow versus a linen pillow? How do you feel when you're using teeny tiny utensils that are too small for your hands versus things that were made with some heft? All those little details will affect your experience. I mean, if you're using utensils that are they're too thin, they're too tiny for your hands, you're going to be frustrated with that beautiful $50 steak you bought and put on the grill. So helping people pay attention to what they love, then being able to articulate why they love it so that they can then superimpose that on the next design decision they make is the process.
You just asked questions that I've never been asked my entire life. Anyway.
Yeah. What's your sheet answer?
Nobody's ever asked me, hey, Garrett, how do you feel between silk sheets? And, the hard problem about silk and satin sheets is you slip out the damn bed. That's the problem.
I agree. I'm not a silk sheet person. I've tried. They're so luxurious.
My wife loves it. And you know what, Mike, because depending on the season, she'll get, I wish she was here. She had to go into the office today, but I'm like, I wish she was here so I could bring her.
I know.
First of all, I wouldn't be on the podcast. She would literally sit down and take over. You guys have the best time. The next time I have Zandra on, I'm going to have my wife do the podcast. I promise you. I'm going to bring Heather in here and you guys are going to have the best time in the entire world. I'm going to go play golf. But she gets seasonal podcasts. So right now it's winter in Northern California. You know how brutal it is. I played golf the other day and had to wear a sweatshirt.
Hey, I'm in Boston. Okay, it's 20.
It was my brother-in-law. I lived in Oklahoma. He goes, it's 11 degrees today. And I literally said, I'm on the golf course. I had to wear a sweatshirt. It's brutal here too.
He would have punched it if he could. Yeah.
And my brother-in-law is 7 feet tall. So I stand back. I stand way back on that. So those are fun. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. And one of the things I want to ask you, mistakes.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about mistakes. Yes.
We're coming right back with Zandra Zuraw. I am so excited to be working with the Nugent Family Counseling Center, founded by Dr. Jeff Nugent. They have 3 office locations in San Jose, Santa Clara, and Reno, Nevada. What they do is support a diverse community of children, adolescents, adults, and families who are affected by conditions such as addiction, depression, anxiety, trauma, stress, and grief. They strive to provide clients with the tools needed to understand and acknowledge the effects that their emotions and behaviors have on themselves and their personal relationships. As Dr. Nugent told me, we try to help our clients fix what's wrong. They don't want you coming forever. They want to help you get past this problem. And they also remind families what they love about each other and utilize a combination of individual, family, and couples therapy. They can help you no matter what you're facing. You do not have to go through this alone. Check out NugentTherapy.com. NugentTherapy.com. You can do this, and they can help. Sterling Oak Cabinetry has one goal:
to build the cabinets of your dreams. They literally specialize in custom cabinetry. No cookie cutter, everything looks the same stuff that you find at the big box stores. Your kitchen is the centerpiece of your home, and your home is your biggest investment. They can work with you or your designer to build just what you want with the materials and finish that you want. And because they're a brand new company, they'll be getting busier and busier. But if you order right now, they'll get your order to you in 6 to 8 weeks. In the world of cabinetry, that's blindingly fast. Contact Rob Scovman at RSKOVMAND@yahoo.com or go to sterlingoakcabinetry.com and get your dreams made reality tomorrow.
So, Zandra, you're now my style guru.
All right. I gotta
Why?
get my turban out.
Oh, you are. And by the way, are you the cook in your family too?
I am.
I am the cook too. And I had this conversation with my wife last night. I said, you know what the worst question in the world is? She goes, what? I said, what's for dinner? That's the
Oh,
worst
I hate that question. Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, I hate it so
I
much.
hate it. I dread it. I dread it. And now my sons have been home from college and they ask me to. So now I got the three of them. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? When's dinner?
I was trying to, this
Why
week,
don't you come up with a dinner idea? I tell you what.
I've decided to step up my game this week because this is the only week I have 11 and 13-year-old. That's right. Look at this face. It's the face of optimism. All right. So, and yes, they're my only children. And matter of fact, I have great nephews the same age as my kids.
Wow.
But
We're
I'm
all
sitting
living
here,
our own life. Yep.
I've been trying to step my game up cooking, right?
Okay.
So I made cocoa ball the other night.
Ooh, good for
And I made a
you.
pot roast. Last night I
Yeah.
made chicken saltimbocca, and everybody
Ooh.
comes in and they're like, so when's dinner going to be done? And if you ever made saltimbocca, it's just a mad, crazy
Yes.
time. And you're just sweating and stuff like that. And I'm like, Lord, let me keep this rolling pin in my hand. I'm supposed to beat the chicken breast, not them.
Not the
Okay?
kids. Yes.
Right? So my wife, same thing. She goes, when did you start this?
Oh, yeah.
So I told you we're going to leave here best friends. But I did want to ask you, when it comes to this, what is the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to design?
Yeah. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is buying everything for a room all at once. You pick out the couch, you pick out the buffet, you pick out the chairs, you pick out the table, whatever, depending on what room we're talking about. You pick it out all at once. And the reason why this is a mistake is you are going to get tired of how everything matches and everything looks like it came from the same store. That is not going to last you as long as kind of collecting things over time. When you collect things over time, you're really layering your home with stories of who you are, of where that thing came from. Some of them are going to be hand-me-downs. Some of them are going to be new stuff that you bought. Some of them are going to be antiques that you went out and purposely brought into your home. And when you do it all at once, there's a static feeling to it that makes you antsy for change. I want to change this up. I'm bored. So putting the brakes on, and I think we do this. I think we do a whole room at once because two reasons. We want it to be done. We're overwhelmed with choices, way too many choices out there. So we're overwhelmed. So we want it to be done. And two, we have this false idea of what looks good in our minds. What looks good is that everything matches and it goes together, and it's meant to be together. But that's really the furniture manufacturers and the decor manufacturers. That's what they're kind of telling us. You kind of have to remember that they're trying to just move their product. They're not really thinking about you. In fact, if you want to replace everything in 5 years, they are psyched about that. So taking your foot off the brake a little bit and letting your room breathe, take the time, figure out, okay, when am I in this room? If I'm in this room at night and I'm watching TV and that's mainly what it's used for, I'm gonna be okay with that dark, moody color, paint color on the wall, because I've lived in this room long enough now that I know that that's what I want to do in this room. Whereas if I just did it without thinking about it, I might have painted this room like really, really light, and then it doesn't have that cozy feeling at night that I want. So I think a lot of decisions are made way too quickly before you've given yourself a chance to kind of live in the space, know how you want to use it, and then play around with what you're bringing into it. Start with what you have. Move things around. If you're tired of your buffet that's holding up your TV, go get your dresser from the kids' room, bring it downstairs, see if the different height kind of sparks something in you that, oh, wow, now that painting that was on the wall, that's too high. It's too, the buffet, the new dresser is too high. So now I got to change something up. I got to put something else on the wall. And then you're looking around your house and you're going to go find something else. All of a sudden, everything's moved around. You've breathed new life into it and you haven't bought a single thing. That was a very long answer to your question, because there are other mistakes that are much simpler.
Do you know what that was? That
What?
was sheer brilliance. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not even kidding, Zandra. I'm not even kidding. When I asked that question, I didn't know what to expect, but
Yeah.
I did not expect you to say that. And I'm telling you, if you're watching the video, if you're listening to the audio, you didn't see it, but if you're watching the video, you saw my brain blow up, because I did not expect that. I never expected you to go, don't get everything all at once. Move things around. I mean, you can answer like that all day long.
Okay.
That was stuff that I'm telling you right now. I can feel this. Somebody's going to rewind their podcast to go, hey, honey, you need to hear this. I'm not even kind of joking. It is. That was brilliant. Kudos.
Well, I think
five.
like people, thank you. I think people that are averse to spending money love my philosophy.
It ends up costing more money because, one of the times you can get stuff all together. Listen, I go by my wife. That's what I know.
Sure.
And she would, I think, because she was like that. She was indoctrinated the way you said. Let's get everything all at once and we'll get it to be over and to look like this and everything to go together. And she has changed over the years now. And listen, it will end up costing more money. I get it.
Yep.
But I also trust her sense of style. I trust her judgment. So I know, again, I've got 2 boys. So she's with 3 guys and we're like,
yeah. Well, she and I are in the same boat there. Yes.
So it looks good. When we did the
Even more
remodel.
reason for us to become best friends. Me and her, not me and you. No offense.
I understand. When we did the remodel here at the house, I pulled all the workers aside. I said, okay, here's the rules. And they're like, what? I said, you can ask me any function question you want.
Right.
Does this door open this way? Does that like that? I said, if you owe me a form question, I will give you the death stare. All right? You don't get to ask me what color, what does it look like, which one? No. Do yourself, me, and my wife a favor. No.
That was a smart move.
So that's who I am.
We all have our talents. Yeah.
I'm still looking. It's coming. Even when it comes to cook, I can cook you something. It's not going to be the best thing you ever ate, but you can eat it.
It's going to be made with love. I can tell that.
No, it's going to be made with exasperation, and somebody needs to feed these kids.
Well,
right?
the idea started with love, love of food, and then then they come in and ruin it.
All of a sudden, child services is a call,
yes. Now it's a chore.
That, and so I know better. What? But I cut you off. You were saying some of the other mistakes, and
so I can
top the answer you just had. But go ahead and try.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me think. I was going to give you the run-of-the-mill mistakes, like people buy their rugs are too small, people don't have enough lamps. Those are the run-of-the-mill mistakes. Let me think of another good one though. Okay, here's a good one. When you're looking for something new, a mistake is to search for it online first. A mistake is to go to Google or Amazon or Wayfair or even your favorite furniture retailer look, I'm not knocking Crate and Barrel or West Elm or Potter. They're all make decent things. But if you start and you go, okay, I need a new side table for the living room. I'm going to search side table. Well, then you're going to get 50 million results. Okay. So then you think, okay, well, wood. I need a wood side table. All right. Now you get 10 million results. And you keep trying to box yourself in and go, oh, okay. I want farmhouse style. I like Joanna Gaines. No offense to Joanna Gaines. I like Joanna Gaines. So I'm going to do farmhouse style. Now you've got it down to about 1,000 results. And the problem with this, other than being overwhelmed, is that when we search online, we naturally are going to start thinking about price first. Oh, that's a farmhouse table. That's a farmhouse table. That's a farmhouse table. They kind of all look alike. I want to get the cheapest one. Not the one that's well made, not the one that's maybe got a handmade element to it, not the one that's going to last. I'm going to get the cheapest one because I want the best deal. Now, I'm a bargain hunter. I get it. However, that's not the only thing I want to have in mind. So get off the internet and start looking around at actual furniture. You want to test how it's made and all that kind of thing. But before you do that, that would be so that's like if searching online is step 3, step 2 is going out and looking for real furniture. Step number 1 is to look at your space and say, what exactly do I need here? I feel like I need a side table because that spot between the 2 chairs looks empty. Okay, well, does there a place to put down a drink on the other side of the 2 chairs? Yeah, actually, I already have 2 side tables. I just feel like I need something in the middle. Well, maybe you don't need another table. Maybe you need a plant. Maybe you need white space. Maybe the room is too crowded, and that's actually some breathing room that you want to keep. Maybe you need a floor lamp because you need more lighting. You don't necessarily want a table and a table lamp because that's too much. So look at your space, talking about where the holes are. What needs to be there? Is it a little bit of height? Okay, then I want a big tall plant, or I want a floor lamp. Is it girth? Okay, then I want something that's got some depth to it. Well, maybe I just need a huge basket, and that's where I'm going to put all my magazines that I collect, or my husband collects, or whatever, that are everywhere and littering everything. I'm going to put that in a pretty basket in between these 2 chairs, because it kind of takes up some visual space that empty space needs. But I don't even need a table. Oh my God, I never even thought I didn't need a table. Or if you go, oh, okay, yeah, I do need a table. Nobody has a place to put down a drink in those 2 chairs. That I always come back to that. Is there a place to put down your drink? I need a place to put down my drink in every room that I'm in. If I need it for that, then, well, is there a lot of wood already in my room? Do I have a coffee table made out of wood? Do I have a bookcase made out of wood? Or is there, a wood frame on all my furniture? Okay, I don't want another piece of wood. All of a sudden, that whole search I was going to do on wood farmhouse tables is out the window. I need a wicker. I need something with like some feel to it. I need a wicker thing. I need a glass table. I need a lucite table. I need a marble top table because the room is warm and I need to cool it up a little bit with a little bit of marble that I really want to put my hands on because I know it's going to be cool to the touch. That's how you start. But we are conditioned to start with a Google search.
Wow. You're good at this. Can I just tell you that? Yeah. No wonder you have a podcast. Yeah.
Thank you. You're so kind.
I think it's fascinating. Now, as somebody like me, who you're exactly right. I would start, well, I don't know, because I'm of a different generation. I remember furniture stores, right? I'm from a small town in Alabama, and we had, there were 2,000 people, and we had 3 furniture stores.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you did. So,
right.
But I don't know if furniture stores, do they exist in the way that, and I'm not talking about IKEA. That's a different situation, right? But I mean, where would you go to look when you said, well, you go look, you need to go see these things, you need to go touch them. You need to go see how they look in a room there, because you're right. I love online stuff. When my wife she goes, oh, I got to do Christmas shopping. And I'm like, how hard is it? Don't they bring the gifts to you? And she's like, oh yeah. Right. It's not like the old days. We're going to go to the mall and stuff.
That's right. Yeah. Malls. Oh my God. That's exhausting. There are furniture stores. For sure. And plenty of the mid-level ones, like I've just mentioned, the go-to ones that I feel like most of America goes to, Crate and Barrel and Pottery Barn or West Elm and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the more budget ones. IKEA is one of them. And then, of course, you got your high-end ones that nobody even knows how to pronounce the name of. Like Roche Bobois is one of them. I mean, it took me a while to figure out how that was, yeah. Right.
I'm not even trying it.
Yeah, don't even try. So yes, they exist. But my favorite place to go, and I know it's not for everyone, is a thrift store or an antique store. Because that's where I'm going to find the one-of-a-kind things. Because I don't just want, unlike you, I don't just want a utilitarian table. I also want it to look good, and I want it to be interesting. I want it to be visually interesting. And so I'm going to start at an antique store or a thrift store, because that's where I might find something that somebody discarded from a while ago. That means it's going to be better made, first of all, if it's, made from 50 years ago and earlier. And it's also might be something that I just haven't seen in a while. I mean, there aren't a lot of furniture stores right now that you can go to and buy a marble top table at. It's not what people are selling right now. But I could probably find one at an antique store. And when I say antique, there is a huge range. There are the upper level antique stores that, you kind of have to make an appointment to even get inside. I'm talking about the ones where it's grandma's attic has been, taken apart, and that's where we're selling now. So I start there because that's where I can also get a feel for how well things are made, different kinds of materials, things I hadn't thought of. A copper-topped coffee table? That is so cool. Never even thought about it. Somebody hammered on a big sheet of copper, probably some industrial guy, onto a coffee table. Nobody's going to have that. That is so cool. And you know what?
Yeah.
It gets better with age. So go ahead and put that wet drink on it. I'm not even going to bother with coasters. I want to see the rings of life from the beer steins that me and my friends are plopping down on that copper table. That's a story to tell. So that's where I start.
So let me ask you this bluntly. How much fun would we have together with cocktails and watching HGTV? Because I would love to get your commentary. I think that would be, if I could sit back and go, hey, it'd be a fun Friday night. Tell my wife, we're going to go over to Zandra's house and we're going to bring like a couple of bottles of wine or some really good beer. And we're going to watch HGTV and just listen to her go.
Well, I would love to do that in the privacy of my home or your home. I publicly try very hard not to insult anyone. I get that there are people out there that are not going to like what I'm saying. They want things to match. They want things instantaneous. They want to look like, I want to look exactly like what I see in that magazine. I want to copy every square inch of it. I don't mean to insult those people. They're just not my people. If they're happy in their homes, if they're getting what they want to out of their homes and their homes are actually doing something for them and aren't just a noose around their neck with a mortgage, that's what I really want. I want everyone to be happy in their homes. It's just that I have a way of teaching you how to be happy in your home if you like what I'm saying, if you like my perspective. But yes, I could do a running commentary on HGTV. Love to.
I think it'd be the most fun thing. I think it'd be, just listening to my wife talk.
Especially with a couple of cocktails in me, right?
Yeah. And I sit back and watch some of these things. And even I've jumped on with her, where it's like, who gives a damn about the cabinet opening, what do you call that, hardware? Who cares? You can change that out. I mean, and then I found out we actually had one of my wife's coworkers was on that House Hunter show. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she found out how it actually works. She told my wife how it actually works. You go into the show with a house.
Yes. Yes.
And then they take you to look at a couple of other houses just for the drama. But when you get on the show, you already have your house.
Have the house.
And my son's like, why? I said, because it's brilliant. That's how TV has to work. That's how anything has to work. But, so they have to come up with something negative to say about the houses. All of them.
Of course. Even the ones they have.
You've got to tell us something negative. Matter of fact, we want more negative comments than we want positive
tear it
comments.
down. Isn't that
you
funny?
know?
No,
So
I've had
it's,
people from HGTV on my show too. And so I really enjoyed the behind the scenes. They're like, "Psst, it's not real. It's not real."
well, and some of these things, and it's some of the design shows, and I'm not asking you to critique anybody, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there are certain designer shows. Matter of fact, the one I'm thinking about, I don't even think it's a show anymore. But they would talk to the homeowners, and then they would, okay, we're going to do this, and then the person would proceed to go ahead and create their vision.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess it's like trying to buy a piece of art from somebody. You're not going to tell.
No, you're not going to tell the artist.
The artist what to
can
paint.
you add a little purple over here? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I think that there are some designers, professional designers, who really pride themselves on listening to the customer and making sure that the client's vision is incorporated. I think a lot of professional designers get frustrated with clients because their vision is either unattainable because of the limitations of their house or their budget. And then they get mad at the designer because they haven't produced the miraculous makeover on $500. Or people in general they have trouble articulating their vision. And that's kind of what I was saying very early in our conversation was about this. The hard thing is getting something that's very abstract, such as what do you want to experience emotionally in a room? That's very abstract. To what style foot do you want on the bottom of your sofa? I mean, it's hard to connect those dots. Mm-hmm. So I think designers get frustrated with people are not very good at articulating their vision, and the designer takes it and then goes, okay, well, is this what you meant? And they say, absolutely not. I hate it. Yeah, I could never be a designer with one-on-one clients. I could never.
Wow. Yeah. My wife went through this. She had a designer, and she said, here's what I want you to do. Give me 3 choices and I'll pick one. Just give me 3 choices.
Because too many. One. It's overwhelming.
And I thought, that's brilliant.
That is good. That is really good. And if you get a designer that's kind of simpatico with your overall vibe, you're probably going to get 3 good choices, and you're probably going to be pretty happy. No knock on professional designers. They're, that's who I interview on my show. I love them.
Well, I enjoy your show. I know you weren't expected to say. That's why I said I had to have you on my show, because I'm not going to be in yours. My wife may be a guest at some point, but don't try to shoehorn me in, my dear. Don't. It's not going to work for anybody.
Maybe we'll work something out. We're like, you got to get Gary on just for the 5-minute segment, okay?
Yeah, just for 5 minutes. That's it. I'll tell you all of my great theories on design and what my favorite color is. I'm that guy. I always told my wife, we were watching a show one time and they had a yellow room, and she's like, oh my God, what a yellow room. And I just sat there quiet. I'm like,
you're like me. I would
answer this question. It just looks so bright. It looks so happy. Happy room. I don't look like it's just me talking. It's
well, listen, to make you feel better, I've been through about 6 different yellows in the same room trying to get the right yellow.
And see,
because the light changes everything, and what looks good in the store doesn't look good on my walls. And I don't want to look like I'm in a kindergartner's room, which is probably what she had in mind. Like, who wants a yellow room? Are we going to, start saying the ABCs? And
I get it. I've learned that being married to her. You go to the store, you buy clothes, you bring them home, you put them on, and then you decide if you like them or not. And then, she's doing something else. I got to go make these returns. I got to go make these returns.
Yep.
I'm like,
oh my God. The number of trips I make just for returns, it's embarrassing.
Wow, and she looks beautiful, and my wife has such a refined style, right?
I love it.
And so
I just love how you talk about your wife. It's so beautiful, and the fact that you notice it, the fact that you use words like panache and refinement and grace, and there was another one you said. It's really lovely. It's really lovely.
Well, she is, she's, as I always tell everybody, if you get a chance to marry my wife, do. It's awesome. You just get it. If it comes up in conversation somehow,
I love it.
You should just jump on there. Well, we'll have all your links. But again, let's talk about how they find you. How can people can hire you?
They can take my course and join my membership, which is called the Slow Style Society. which is a group of people who really want to fix up their homes themselves. They kind of want to be their own interior designer, but they don't know how to do it. We kick it off with a course that's about fixing one room in your home. And it's soup to nuts, one room in your home without buying hardly anything new. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So in that course, you're going to learn all the design, quote unquote, rules, which are also meant to be broken. I'll just say that right now, but there are some fundamental rules that generally work and make a difference most times. So you learn the kind of nuts and bolts stuff, but not to the level of detail of a professional designer would, I make it fun. Let me put it that way. Start with a course, and then there's a whole library of other videos that teach you how to do little projects and things like that. And then you get to be with me once a month because I do a live call with the society members once a month. So that's how I coach people, is through this way, as opposed to, I used to do one-on-one going to people's houses things, found out it wasn't for me. So I don't do that anymore. You can find out everything at slowstylehome.com. And like I said, the podcast name is now Slow Style Home. You might still be able to find it on wherever you're listening to Gary's podcast as Style Matters, but might not. I don't know. I haven't kept up with Apple and Spotify and all those things, so I don't know what they've done with it. But I would love to have you at least visit the website and take a look around, see if it's for you. I've got a quiz, Fix My Room. It's free. I pinpoint what's wrong with your room. And, I forgot to mention, I have a book coming out in 2025.
You busy, successful people just kind of piss me off.
I'm 52. It's taken me a long time to get here. I'm not a TikTok star.
52. I'm not 52. All right? 52 is in my
like
rearview
50,
mirror.
I bet you're like 54.
I love you so much right now. You may end up being my wife's best friend.
52.
You may end up being my wife's best friend, but we're going to be really good friends too. All right?
Excellent. I can tell.
That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It might have been my favorite podcast interview ever.
Well, I'm going to put that on my on the socials. I'm going to say, Zandra.
Well, you're very good at this. You said you were joking earlier. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm good at yet. You're very good at this. You made me feel very comfortable, and we've had a great time. And we didn't get stuck talking just design, which I like because life is bigger than that.
I have fun, and I look forward to talking to people. And I knew I was going to have fun, because I look forward to talking to anybody. But when I did my research on you, I'm like, I think we're going to have a good time. I think, because it's going to go from there. So I am just delighted. And again, I'm kind of serious. I want to do an episode where you talk to my wife. I really do. I
think that would be really fun.
I think you guys would have such a good time.
Yes.
I really do. And she'll probably put me out of business because everybody will start going, hey, can we hear her talk to more people? Yeah.
Careful what you wish for. Right.
Whenever she has some free time, which is, by the way, never. But
never.
Yes,
yeah.
She works. She works,
I bet she does.
She does. Listen, I hear you in your little room down there laughing. Oh, it sounds like a hard job. Yeah.
Right. Oh, so funny.
Zandra, thank you so much. I look forward to that episode, but thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Again, great conversation. I really, really appreciate you having me on your fabulous show.